They built Michigan Stadium in 1927. It's been filled since. It will be filled today for the Rice Owls. Last week's win over Notre Dame has Michigan sky high. And Lloyd Carr has every coach's dream. Two quarterbacks who can really play. Drew Henson is the youngster. With mobility and a rifle arm, he might be Michigan's future. Tom Brady, the polished veteran, with a Big Ten title on top of his resume. They're both on display today. Number 5 Michigan and Rice. And once again, this grand old stadium will be filled again. The Rice Owls and number 5 Michigan. Last week, a bubbling cauldron of maize and blue as Michigan beat Notre Dame in what Lloyd Carr called the most emotional and physical game that he's coached at Michigan. Hi, everyone. Rich Waltz. Welcome to the big house, if you will. Lloyd Carr was ecstatic about the game last week, but if you think that's what he told his team, you're very wrong. On Monday, it went like this. Gentlemen, nice win. Now let's get ready for Rice, and let's avoid a letdown. I'm joined by Gino Torretta. Gino, how do they avoid the letdown?
They have to refocus all their energy on an option team. That's going to be very difficult for Michigan, but they clearly outmatched the Rice Owls, so look for them to have a big game today as long as they stay focused.
Also look for two very good quarterbacks. Tom Brady, Drew Henson. Lloyd Carr told us this is not a platoon. These guys are fighting for a job.
He loves both these kids' talent. Tom Brady and Drew Henson are very good quarterbacks. It almost seems to us in talking to him that he's treating his first 3 football games as a preseason to the Big Ten. So look for whoever plays better to be the best quarterback and the starter for Michigan the rest of the season, Rich.
You know, preparing for Rice, their triple option, Ken Hatfield runs it as well as anyone, is very, very difficult for a defensive coordinator. Chad Richardson is their quarterback. What will we see from this quarterback and from this offense?
Chad Richardson is not going to beat you throwing the football. He runs a 4.4 40. He is going to beat Michigan by making the correct decisions in this Veer offense. It is a very difficult offense to defend. Michigan's defense practiced without a football to learn all their keys versus the option. So it should be a good game today.
Michigan Stadium full. The Rice Owls are in town for number 5 Michigan. Let's head back to the studios and Reese Davis.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. John McAfee, Rodney Gilmore joining me. And Michigan, of course, one of 7 top 25 teams going with the 2-quarterback system. That's not even counting Syracuse and Cal. And LSU's trying to play 3 down there. We've got a bevy of good running backs here, too. You still have to run the ball, John.
Well, the thing that people don't recognize is how many good runners there are this year. The focus has been on Ron Dane. Of course, he only played half the week last week, 135 yards. Rod, I don't know how much he'll play this week either.
Dane's a good one, but there's some other backs that are pretty good as well. You know, Deshaun Foster at UCLA, you'll see him tonight, great player. How about Sean Alexander at Alabama? He played great last week, and I don't think there's anybody better than Jamal Lewis. I love the way he plays.
How about the newcomer, my newcomer? Dan Alexander, University of Nebraska. I think he will replace D'Angelo Evans by the end of the year.
Wow. We'll keep an eye on that for you, and we'll keep an eye on everything that's going on for you the rest of the afternoon. Cut-ins coming up. Halftime, we'll be back here to wrestle about the 2-quarterback system, maybe out on the studio floor. But shortly, Rice and Michigan from the big house in Ann Arbor. That's coming up after the break.
Back in Ann Arbor, Rice and number 5 Michigan. A little triple option look from Rice, a guy that ran a little option, our authority on the option today. Don McPherson. Donnie?
Well, Rich, it's no question. Rice comes into Michigan a bit unmatched, overmatched. But Rice runs option football, like you said, and that means ball control. We talked to their coaches, the things they have to do. They must get 5 yards on first down. They can't get in long yard situations. They must score at least 27 points, and they have to hold the ball for at least 35 minutes. They do these things, and they have a shot. If not, their first trip to the big house can be a long day.
Ken Hatfield runs this triple option as well as anyone in college football today. His 21st season as a head coach. He had success with it at Air Force, Arkansas, and Clemson. The weather, gorgeous. Little bit of a crosswind right now. Last week it was exceedingly hot in this stadium. And when Rice took on Houston down in Houston, it was very humid. Lloyd Carr in his 5th season, of course, the coach of the year with that storybook 1997 year. And he was apprehensive about this Rice offense in our meetings yesterday. Hayden Epstein will kick it away. From the 5, Dan Dawson, the return. He's also a linebacker for these Rice Owls. All right, let's talk triple option here. Gino Torretta, Chad Richardson, the senior. How do you measure the success of a quarterback like this?
Well, in the option, it's not going to be how many yards he throws for. It's going to be how successful he is running the football. He runs a 4.440. What kind of decisions is he going to make on the pitch? Who's unblocked by Rice and things like that? It's not going to be with his arm. It's going to be with his feet.
And a one-back set to open. And Richardson hit and dropped at the 22. No gain on the play. Our Dell starting lineups. The Owls come in at 0-1. They lost last week to Houston. Leroy Bradley is one of 2 halfbacks that will play in the triple option. 92 yards last week against Houston. The wide receivers don't get a whole lot of looks, but they must block in this scheme. Up front, the leader of the offensive line, Neil Gray. He's a senior out of Mesquite, Texas. Straight ahead go the Owls. Jamie Tyler, the fullback, on the carry. Michigan's defense, very good. Rob Renas, the captain. Linebackers, talented as well. Ian Gold and James Hall are both second team all Big Ten picks. 20 starts for Gold in his Michigan career. And the safeties are the strength of the secondary. Tommy Hendricks, a great game last week. And Dwayne Patman, one of the harder hitters in the Big Ten Conference. On third down, Richardson, a quarterback draw, and he's across the 30, out to the 31-yard line. Richardson attempted 10 passes last week and completed 2.
Rich, we saw, as Don McPherson pointed out, they need 5 yards on first down, and the reason is they can't get in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, because Rice is not a throwing football team. So the option very many times does not get 7, 8 yards on a run.
Travis Hale to punt it away for the Owls. He shanked it but got a good roll. Diallo Johnson will let it come to rest at the 28-yard line. Tom Brady did everything you would want from a starting quarterback last week. 17 of 24, 197 yards in 8 series. Michigan had to punt just once. No turnovers from this young man.
No turnovers. That was big, Rich. But I think what Lloyd Carr was looking for is more efficiency in the red zone. They had an opportunity to score about 53 points last week and didn't come up with that many. He really wants a lot more points if they get in the red zone, and I think they may look to Henson to do that.
Aaron Shea in motion. Anthony Thomas on the first carry is across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Jason Hebert made the stop. Starting lineups, Ardell starting lineups for Michigan. Anthony Thomas, lest we forget, 138 yards last week on 32 carries against the Fighting Irish. A coming out party for David Terrell as well. 8 catches, 115 yards against the Fighting Irish. And Jeff Backus and Steve Hutchinson have been together since their freshman season. They make a very, very good left side of that offensive line. Thomas again, and he's stopped by Wesley Kubish, one of the Rice linebackers. Rice's defense was outstanding against Houston. In fact, Houston had just 8 first downs in that ball game. Up front, Judge Smith, one of the guys to look for, out of Plano, Texas. A linebacking trio. Dan Dawson does it all. At 6'2", 200, he also returns kickoffs and punts. Jason Hebert, probably the best defensive back in that Rice backfield. A quick throw. Marcus Knight with the catch. And Knight is caught at the 48-yard line. Josh McMillan made the stop. You know, sometimes Rice's offense is the best friend for Rice's defense. They control the ball on offense, so the defense can be very, very effective at times.
They have to control the ball to win this football game. They're overmatched physically on both sides of the ball. Rice in this first series, they're bringing 8, 9 guys up to the line of scrimmage, begging Michigan to throw the football, and Michigan is still able to run the ball.
Shea in motion. On third down, flags go down. And Michigan, I think, will lose 5 yards. Steve Newman, our referee.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty remains third down.
A Big Ten crew. In the Houston game, Houston not only had just 8 first downs, Gino, they did not have a first down in the final 40 minutes of the game.
Well, the big thing last week with Rice, they only turned the ball over 14 times last year, and they had 8 fumbles and lost 6 of them last week. That's not how an option football team wins the ball game.
Shotgun for Brady on third down. Lots of time. Man wide open, and it's caught down at the 32-yard line. Marcus Knight, the senior. 26 yards, Brady to Knight.
That last play shows how outmatched Rice is by the defensive line. Michigan gives Brady all the time in the world to throw this football. He's just sitting there, getting his feet set, waiting for one of his receivers to come open, and the Rice secondary doesn't have a chance on that play if they're going to give Brady that much time for Knight to get open.
Thomas over the left side to the 27-yard line. Wesley Kubish made the stop. .32 carries, 138 yards. I don't think Lloyd Carr would like him to get over 30, maybe not for the rest of the year.
In an ideal situation, I think you'd like your tailback to get 25 to 30 carries max. Michigan can't expect to win a national championship with Anthony Thomas carrying the ball 32 times every single week.
Second down, 8. Thomas tripped up on a nice play by Dan Dawson, the sophomore linebacker. Roger Hinshaw, the defensive coordinator, talked an awful lot about Dawson yesterday.
He's their best player, Rich. Not only is he the outside linebacker, he's the punt returner and the kick returner. And you really don't see that in college football much. I think Michigan, what they're doing here in the opening drive, they're coming out in a lot of different formations. I don't know if this is to mix up their opponents the rest of the season, but I think it's throwing Rice's defense off with the one-back offense.
Thomas behind Brady on 3rd and 7. Again all day. Man wide open. Marquise Walker stopped short of the first down. Wesley Kubish and Dan Dawson made the stop.
Nice play by Rice's secondary there to come up. They allow the completion, but they rally around the ball and don't give up the first down.
The crowd wants Michigan to go for it. Dan Dawson says bring it on. And so Michigan on a 4th down and 2. The Wolverines' initial possession of this football game.
Rich, and Lloyd Carr told us yesterday that early on 4th down, they may go for it because of the option offense controlling the ball so much time during the game.
Thomas, he is hit, and I don't think he has it. And the Rice Owls have risen up and stopped the Wolverines.
Big play, big play. That's going to gain a lot of confidence from Rice's defense.
Wesley Kubish and Dan Dawson on the stop.
Just a Michigan ISO, and the Michigan defensive line doesn't get any push, and then you see the secondary, and Hebert comes up and makes a nice play.
And now the Rice offense will try to control the football a little bit more than their first possession. It was 3 and out to begin with. The give is to Leroy Bradley around the right side. And he's out to the 25-yard line. That's a gain of 4. And that's a win for the Rice offense.